Say my name. I am awake. I am the danger. I am the one who knocks.
Welcome to the next episode of Breaking Into Breaking Bad. This is Season 4, Episode 3, Open House. For those of you who have not seen this episode recently, Cabes, tell us what's going on.
Sure, I'll do the honors. This episode really shows Walt as a disgruntled employee, just really upset about one thing after the other. He notices that there's Gus put up a video camera in the lab that follows him everywhere he goes. He's just very upset with the way things are right now, and you can tell it's kind of spilling over to the way how he treats Jesse. Jesse's going through a lot right now, and you can tell that Jesse's trying to reach out to Walt to hang out outside of work, and Walt is just not picking up on it because he's just kind of in this weird mood right now. And if you remember in the last episode, Jesse's house is just getting completely destroyed, and it's just kind of getting worse and worse. He even starts, I think at one point he just throws all of his money all over the floor and just has everyone, all the bums that are there, take it all. Skyler in this episode, you might want to say, finally really did break bad herself. She was able to work with Saul and one of Saul's guys and was able to trick the owner of the A1A car wash into selling to her. And so she was able to finagle that whole scenario. So they now are the owners of a car wash. Marie, good old Marie, back to her stealing ways, and this time gets caught, and Hank has to pull in favors from his cop friends to get her out. So they're going to be dealing with that in the next few episodes, I'm sure. And one of the cop that pulled the favor for Hank actually brings the crime scene of the murder of Gail Bedecker to Hank to kind of get his intake on it. And so we see Hank starting to show some interest in that. But that was pretty much the gist of the episode.
Yeah, I think that's about it. So this is the title of this is Open House. I think on the surface it's pretty clear why it's called Open House. You mentioned that Marie's back to her kleptomania, but she's doing it in an interesting way. It's not like before where she was going to stores and stealing shoes or something. Now she's going to open houses where there are homes for sale. And she's added this really weird element of putting on a completely fake persona with an identity and history, get fake names to convince the owners that she's a legitimately interested buyer.
Yeah, she enjoys that more than she actually enjoys the stealing, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. She does steal little knickknacks from around people's homes, which is a little more invasive because it's not like some big corporation that's, shrinkage, missing a few items. She steals like that collector spoon from that one house, and then the people's freaking picture of that couple.
Almost like a serial killer type of approach.
Yeah, it's weird. It's true. But what else? I mean, she's stealing people's trust. Really, I mean, it's like a really perverse kind of thing. So it's gotten a lot worse, I would say, like what she's doing, even though it's not technically illegal to go to people's open houses and pretend to be interested in the home. It probably crosses a line when she steals little knickknacks, but
yeah.
Anyway, so I was going to say, on one hand, it's pretty clear why this is called Open House. But I wonder, as you were talking, it occurred to me, maybe there's another reason why this is called Open House. Because there's more going on in this episode than just Marie. She is a significant part of it, but there's more to it. where else might you have seen an open house in this episode?
Jesse.
Exactly. It's like a constant open house, except people are doing a lot more than stealing a few knickknacks. I mean, they are turning it into a full-on death den where people just go to die, drugs and all kinds of, it's really gross.
And Jesse even walks up and someone is walking out with like a printer or something like that. And Jesse could.
Yeah, like a microwave or something.
Microwave, yeah. And he just didn't think twice about it. Oh well.
Right. I mean, it's a kind of depression, right? Where you just don't care. You know, he's just completely apathetic. But I mean, money's not really an issue for him. The home was only really important to him because it was his way of kind of getting at his parents, remember? It was that weird kind of like, I'll show you.
Right.
My aunt wanted me to have this place and I'll show you. So the whole thing's very strange. It definitely shows that Jesse's not thinking rationally about what's in his best interest. He's not well. I think that what's going on the outside, the chaos we see on the outside is evidence of chaos on the inside. Yeah. So anyway, the title, Open House. Maybe it has more to do than just with Marie. Maybe it also has to do with, Jesse and his whole situation as well. So what's going on with Walt in this episode? Yeah, you're right. He's disgruntled, but I mean, he's got reason to be. I mean, his boss basically tried to kill him. It's not really a good situation. There's no trust. So yeah, of course there's a camera. I mean, if I'm Gus, I'm probably going to have a camera. I'd probably suspect that they'd be stealing some, right?
True. But like,
we know Jesse was.
Even if you're not doing anything, nobody loves or enjoys the idea of knowing that they're constantly being watched. It's just an uneasy feeling. Oh yeah.
There's a guy named Jeremy Bentham who was the founder of the philosophy of utilitarianism, who came up with this concept of a prison called the panopticon, which was this like weird design whereby every prisoner could see every other prisoner, I think it was, or maybe one guard from where he was in the middle could look and see every prisoner, could keep an eye on. And it's just a way of sort of, if you incentivize, if every prisoner can see every other prisoner, and it's just known throughout the prison that you get some big reward if you see anyone, if you tell on anyone who's trying to escape, then there's no trust. Everybody is not able to trust one another. And anyway, the surveillance going on there is just a constant reminder that Gus doesn't trust Walt, and he can get in trouble, if he tries anything. So yeah, I mean, it's not a good long-term situation. I wonder how long it can last. So
right.
When Walt meets Skylar and she basically forces her way into his apartment, we know his voice changes. Did you notice that? He like gets really kind of barky.
Defensive, defensive for sure.
But it sounded like a different person. I mean, I would say, oh, that's Heisenberg talking. He just got really angry. And what I saw, and that was like just a completely different Walt. There's no more of the puppy dog kind of like, oh, please, can I please like come home? And like he's not concerned at all with fixing his relationship with Skylar. Like he wants it to be a partnership, but he's not interested in getting into her good graces at all. And that's he has zero desire to please her.
Right. It's a huge shift because that's all what he was wanting to do beforehand. I will say that the way that he is treating their partnership, him and Skylar's, it's funny because it's almost the way he was treating Jesse in the earlier seasons. I think at one point she called him out about, the black eye and said, oh, I didn't retaliate. He was a much older man. Yeah. Like he was just coming up like with, excuses. He just didn't, he can never be completely honest. He has to kind of twist the story a little bit to make himself not look like a pushover.
Yeah. It's interesting. She asks him, are you in danger? Are we in danger? Are you in danger? And he has this whole like, no, of course not. I just had, the black eye is not indicative of it being dangerous for me. When I'm thinking, it's been dangerous since like episode 1.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why she doesn't realize. She's either incredibly naive or Walt has really spun things in such a way that she believes that, yeah, no, I just like go, I clock in, I make meth and I clock out and then I get a lot of money. That's it. There's nothing going on. But it's a reminder that no, things really are dangerous. And she doesn't know that. And she's likely to continue to make decisions in a certain way, I think, that we should be wary of.
Right.
Okay, so we talked already about Marie and what she's up to. Gotta say, she's a pretty good actress.
Very good.
I mean, she's extremely confident about the stories. It seems like she did her research, like she thought about it all beforehand. She came up with like certain script, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to pretend.
Well, also just how she broke down when it was just obvious that she was caught at the police station.
Yeah.
She just, at that point, there was no, because remember when Skylar was trying to confront her earlier, she just could never admit, and they just decided to move on without ever really talking about it. At this point, she caught red-handed, so that's when she broke down.
Yeah, that's right. Because he keeps saying, not again, Marie, not again. But she didn't really get caught the first time, right? Or maybe she almost did. Remember the jewelry store?
Right.
But you're right. She's never had to confront it quite like this. So she's at a breaking point, I think.
Yeah.
Hank is still being a royal asshole. I said Cheetos, not Fritos. Those don't sound anything alike.
Cheetos sounds nothing like Fritos.
It sounds a lot like Fritos. I mean,
100% sounds like Fritos.
Half of the word, they rhyme in the end, right? Fritos, Cheetos. So I don't know. He's just being, his reaction is so out of proportion to. Do
you think his victim mentality, his just being a complete asshole, the reason for all this is because you have taken the kind of the masculine role of what he was completely out of the picture. So now he has feels like he has nothing to offer except clean up after me. It's like he hates being the victim so much that he actually adapts to that victimhood mentality because he cannot be the person that he was anymore. At least not right now.
I'm tempted to believe that you're right, because he can't provide, he can't do anything. He's completely dependent on other people, and for any man, I think that's tough. I mean, it's tough if you're human, but I think especially for men, that's tough when you're used to being the guy that other people depend on. Right. But the reason I hesitate to say, yeah, that's it, that's probably it, is because remember the thing that like moved him and like that he woke up for and stayed up for all day? It was this obsession with finding Heisenberg. And he was neglecting his marriage. I mean, Marie wasn't really able to depend on him, as things were leading up. I mean, he wasn't even home. He was constantly gone, constantly. So it seems to me there's something about like all of that, the way that went down. It's like Heisenberg won or something,
yeah,
something about it made him give up. And you see that when the guy brings the notebook from Gale and he's like, hey, it's meth lab. Old Hank would have been all over that, but he can't even lift a finger. Now it's very ominous at the end of the episode. He picks it up and all we do is see him start to read it. And we know, because the music, it's playing, that he's going to see something there that's going to probably bring him back.
Right.
That's what I'm thinking. But We'll see. But the thing that's dead inside seems to be more than just standard masculine desire to be the guy that other people depend on.
Right.
We'll see. So Jesse, going back to what you said about Jesse, so he does invite Walt out to do go-karts, which is really funny to imagine Walt in a go-kart. But I mean, it was a definite cry for help. I mean, I don't know. I kind of thought that was code for like, hey, let's talk. And I'm thinking those guys should probably be talking regularly because they can't talk in the lab. If they're not getting out and meeting each other outside of the lab, then I don't know. I mean, they should be afraid for their lives, and they should be plotting and being in close contact. They're having to rely on each other to do really, really incredible things right now. Like, hey, go kill this person so that they don't kill me. I mean, that's nuts. So Walt brushing it aside is, I mean, like,
it is strange, right?
What's so important in your life, Walt, that you would neglect your son?
Well, I know, right? I mean, Walt was trying to come up with a plan after this happened. Like he did want to meet with Jesse to figure this out, but Jesse was brushed it off. Gus needs us completely. There's absolutely no way he is going to be able to find another chemist. Period. Mm-hmm. We're solid. Right. But you've got to think that they have zero plan right now, and they are being used until they are not needed anymore. But Jesse is he's so in his head right now about killing Gale that he's just putting on a fake personality at work and then goes home and just drowns out with all the nonsense that's going on in his house.
Yeah. No, it's really sad.
What did you think what he meant when he was asking, he mentioned Walt's black eye, and he said,
I was going to ask about that.
You get used to it.
You sort of get used to getting the shit beat out of you, is what he says.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a weird thing to say. It reminds us that Jesse was put through a lot physically, before this, beat to a pulp by Tuco.
Yep.
And then again by Hank. And all that Walt has received is a little black eye. I wouldn't say that those are at all equal. So in a way, Jesse's comment, like, Walt has never had the shit beat out of him. He got punched once. It's nothing like Jesse, where his life was kind of in danger.
That's right. Jesse's always been the brunt of whatever situation that they've been in, and Walt's just trying to be the fixer after the fact.
Yeah. No, so I mean, what's the significance of that? I would just say it's more. It adds more of an injustice to Walt ignoring Jesse. Walt doesn't have an excuse to be like, "Oh, I can't recognize your situation and help you, Jesse. I've got it really bad over here. I've got this like black eye. It's really tough." What? No. And Jesse, I mean, they know each other pretty well. I think it should be pretty obvious to Walt that Jesse is not doing well. And he was asking him, like, how are you doing? And Jesse was able to kind of convince him that things were fine. But then he starts to crack up when the party's over and when Skinny Pete and Badger go away. And anyway, I would say, like we said about the job situation, so too with Jesse's home situation. Like, that situation is not going to last very long. Cops are going to come and or the house is going to be set on fire or something really soon. So
yeah, the fact that the neighbors haven't.
I know. I mean, surely they would see like the worst part of the city coming in and out of that home. I mean, it's just a suburban house. Anyway, yeah.
Right. It's a decent
not a good situation. Cannot last very long. Things are at a breaking point.
What did I enjoyed the conversations between Saul and Skylar. I thought that was It's pretty funny.
Yeah, it was revealing. So, I mean, Saul, like you've always noted, is a really bright guy, and he's able to look at things dispassionately and say, I know you want to do that, but that's not a good idea. The best idea, the better thing to do is this, right? And he teases out that what's motivating Skylar isn't cold calculation and rationality. There's resentment.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be a car wash, and it's got to be Bogdan's car wash, because that guy, right? I mean, that's it. And then he also teases out that Walt is also moved by the same resentment toward Bogdan. So they want to screw him just as much as they want to find a solution to their money laundering needs.
That was a really funny scene, though, when Walt was like, wait, what did Bogdan say about me?
Yeah, right.
You're not man enough, so you had to send your woman. He's like, no, it's got to be this car wash.
Right.
His pride is just so much.
Yeah. But then we see Skylar wheeling and dealing and taking some pretty big risks, right? Like, I'm going to lowball him and see if he'll be desperate enough. It reminded me of the first episode when she's selling stuff on eBay.
There you go. Yeah, some prior experience there.
Yeah, well, she gets a little bit of a rush, right, out of the whole game of the thing.
Oh yeah, did you see her prepared for when she was giving Saul's guy information through his Bluetooth about what law he was going to break?
Right. No, she was ready. Yeah, no, she when it's game time, she shows up. She's ready.
Yeah.
You got to hand it to her.
That's why I was saying she kind of finally broke bad in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah, she turned her gift toward, kind of,
because that wasn't her
responding
to a situation where she needed to do something. This was solely her venture.
Right.
That she was really pursuing herself.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. What did you think of the scene where they celebrate their successful purchasing of the car wash with the champagne?
He buys a very expensive bottle, and she's still on the up and up about being careful. I liked what I wrote down. What she said. She said one sliver of duct tape brought down the president of the United States. We have to be smart.
Right. Side note: I've had that champagne before. It's pretty good.
What was it called?
Oh gosh, what's the first name? Roger, something Roger. But it was Churchill's champagne of choice.
How about that?
Had a glass once with his great grandson. Yeah. His late great grandson is no longer alive, unfortunately. But
have you had the Dos Hombres? Yes, you have had the Dos Hombres. For anyone that's listening, Dos Hombres is a mezcal tequila that Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul have come together and helped push, and it's called Dos Hombres. And I think I gave you a.
Yep, I had it at your house. You poured me some. Yeah, strong stuff.
I think at the end of this podcast, when we finally finish, we need to fly out to Albuquerque, get a pizza, go to the house, throw a pizza on the roof, and have some Dos Hombres. That's
what we'll do with the profit that we make from our Patreon.
There you go.
That's a great idea. I would wonder what we're going to do with all that cash.
Dad's been, I think I might have mentioned this before, but Dad's actually been to the house, took a picture in front of it. Yeah.
He has.
My director at work literally just went there about 2 weeks ago and sent me pictures. He brought back some blue meth candy. It was awesome.
Oh,
shout out to Jason Holler there. If he ever listens to this, doubt he will, but we'll see.
Okay, what else do we need to talk about in this episode? So we already mentioned Hank not interested in the Notebook to a so it's not like he's apathetic. It's not like he's like, oh well, take it or leave it. I don't know. He's like, no. Like, I don't want it. Like, don't leave it here. Give it to Gomi. Like, right? It's a little weird.
See, that's what I was kind of mentioning earlier. That whole victim mentality is like kind of like fighting off his season 3, season 2 of him just wanting to work late and just get everything he can out of this case. And
but it's almost like he's triggered by it. It's like, oh, I don't want that. I don't want that.
Yeah, it brings back different times when he was walking in. Yeah, probably pre. What was the promotion he got? What was the place where he got sent to?
El Paso. Yeah,
El Paso. Probably pre El Paso.
Right. So I'm going to note that there's still no explanation whatsoever for his strange obsession with minerals, not rocks, minerals.
Definitely not rocks.
I mean, the writer just like put that in there for what, like, we have no idea why at this point. Maybe it'll make sense later, but that seems to be the only thing that he's super interested in. Well,
yeah, I just think of it as it's a weird hobby, kind of a crutch to get his mind focused on something else. I don't know. It's very strange.
I meant to add, when we were talking about Walt and Skylar celebrating with that bottle of champagne before we got a little distracted there, I'm reminded that Walt doesn't get to enjoy any of his money. He's not the gangster who gets to go out. I mean, Jesse has splurged a little bit. Remember when he was like buying drinks for everybody at that strip club or whatever it was, and like he was trying to live a kind of gangster lifestyle, whereas Walt's never really enjoyed it. He's never taken a trip to, I don't know, go somewhere for a weekend even. What does he do on the weekends? Just stays home, I guess. Maybe hangs out with Walter Jr. I don't know. But
what do you think? So the whole point of him was to use the money never for him. It was always for his family. So there was never this sense of, I want this money for me. To me, it went from, I want this money for my family, to now being obsessive with, I want to say, the power that comes with the money, the level of sophistication that he feels when he has the money makes him feel more higher up than.
There's things he could do with the amount of money that he has that he's not doing. For example, he could hire a hitman. That Saul Goodman knows someone who knows a hitman who could take Gus out, which is what Walt wants in order to feel secure. If you want to feel powerful, you've got to feel secure.
Right, but safe. He also knows that Mike is Gus's right-hand man, and Mike is very smart. And if Mike catches said hitman and makes him squeal,
well, sure,
he's a dead man.
But he's a dead man anyway. Right.
I mean, I guess when push comes to shove, he's got to make a decision.
Yeah. So anyway, the point though is that when Skylar makes a big deal out of how could you have splurged on this $300 bottle of champagne, we're reminded, oh yeah, no, Walt doesn't spend his money on anything like kind of like nice at all. So I mean, it's just an interesting thing to note that he's a multimillionaire, but doesn't spend it at all.
No.
Now maybe it's because they need it for the car wash, and once they start laundering the money through that.
Well, he's Hank's healthcare. They're paying.
Yeah, right. That's true. They're paying for that. But that's another sort of. I see that as a kind of tax that Walt has to pay in order to appease Skylar. It's sort of like Skylar's okay with him doing what he's doing, provided that she can take some of the money to help Marie out with Hank.
Yeah.
That seemed to be the one thing that like tipped her over to accepting the deal. I don't know. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
Well, there was a bit of a contrast between that scene where Skylar's like super careful. You know, we can't, we don't want to spend the money at all, like this. The contrast with that and Jesse standing in the middle of his living room with all those like hobos and him throwing the money in the air and yelling, "Money!" He's not spending it on something luxurious, but he just doesn't care about it at all.
Right.
Whereas Skylar is sort of, meticulously keeping track of everything.
Yeah, I guess it's the bookkeeper in her.
Right. Right.
That knows what could happen.
Yeah. Well, that's all I got on that episode. You got anything to add?
No, I think that's it. Next one should be good. Well, everyone, appreciate you guys listening. Obviously, you enjoyed this episode, so you're going to like, share, and subscribe to it, of course. But you probably already subscribed to it, so like and share away.
There you go.
You could always find these episodes on the Apple Podcasts and YouTube, and you could follow and contact us. Have you been contacted? I don't know if we've been contacted yet, but you can contact us on Twitter and Patreon at Breaking Into BB. So we will see you guys next time as we break into another episode of Breaking Bad.